we've had massive success running just straight up cold demo request ads like this to a cold audience and having a very successful take rate, and then also a very successful opportunity rate after that. Hey folks, Jason Widdop here, VP of Marketing at Metadata.io. I just want to take a second to thank you for joining my session, and thank you again for participating in our Demand 2021 event. Hope you're having a great time and learning a lot. Listen, I'm going to talk about LinkedIn conversation ads now for the next 30 minutes or so. We've had a lot of success with this tactic over the last 18 months, so much so that we actually built it into our own platform, and now our customers are seeing all the benefits. Over the past year and a half, I think we've generated close to about $2 million of sourced closed-won business with this tactic alone, with around a 5x multiple on what we've spent on it. And so for us, it's been amazing, and it continues to be amazing. And a lot of our customers, as you'll see with some of the stuff that we have in this presentation, they're having successes with it as well. All right, so what are we going to talk about? First, I want to talk about, well, what are they? What is a LinkedIn conversation ad, and what types of campaigns are they good for? Then we'll talk about the use cases. So different offers you can leverage with this ad type and different outcomes you can drive. Then we'll get into what we've learned. Like I mentioned before, we've been at this for about 18 months, and I think have tried over about 90 variations of the ad type, and also have input from customers that are using this tactic as well. So we'll go through those. And finally, I'll wrap up with just some tactical things you can do to really jumpstart your experimentation with LinkedIn conversation ads. All right, setup is done. Let's jump in. All right, so what are they? Let's see, they've been around for about, I don't know, coming up on 2 years now. I like to describe them as a conversation bot, so like Drift, but inside of LinkedIn messages. And so it's basically a choose your own adventure experience where the recipient reads a message, and then they have, 1 to n number of buttons that they can use to respond to that message. And then whatever button they use to respond, it opens up the next message, and it kind of carries them through that conversation based on what they've chosen. They're delivered in InMail right next to someone's, or right into someone's message inbox, right next to all their other normal messages. They are labeled sponsored, so people kind of know what to expect when they're reading a conversation ad. Targeting is about the same as other LinkedIn campaign types. So you can use the standard firmographic, demographic, list uploads, some of the different criteria that LinkedIn has available. And so all your standard targeting types. Delivery of the ad, though, is a little bit complicated to understand because it's like email. It's not like a ad in a feed. And so if you think about it from an email's perspective, a single recipient is only able to get one of these conversation ad types every 30 days into their inbox. But from a given advertiser like Metadata, they can only get the same creative once every 60 days. And so you can imagine what that means, and we'll talk a little bit about this later, is the inventory can be pretty low. So if I'm VP of Marketing at Metadata and there's several companies that want to target me, only one of them is going to get into my inbox. And then 30 days later, I'll come back up again as somebody available to get a message. And so my guess is that number will come down, but I think LinkedIn is trying to is doing a good job of keeping this from becoming a spam channel, kind of like our email has become. And I guess the last interesting fact, but sometimes frustrating to recipients, is that they can't carry on a back and forth conversation with the person sending them the ad. They can't click on, they could click on, well, actually, no, they can't. They can't click on the name. They can't respond in the ad. They'd actually have to look at your name, go find you in LinkedIn, InMail you or connect with you, and then converse with you, which I've actually had a couple people do. But that can be frustrating to some people who aren't familiar with a conversation ad, because they're kind of expecting that, oh, can't I just respond back? And they really can't. Cool. So hopefully that gives you a good kind of overview or summary of what a conversation ad is. And now I'm going to show a quick video about what it looks like in the wild. So here is actually a conversation there that we ran. You can see the person, me in this case, I'm clicking through, no, what is it? And it shows my response. And then Kaylee comes back with another response based on the fact that I said, no, what is it? Then I said, not right now. She says, okay, no problem. I can go back up though, and I can click, sure, I can change my answer and then see what happens at the end of that. So now I can follow it all the way through. And then if I end up on something that I want to do, I can fill out a lead gen form, and then magic happens after that. Cool. All right, so next I want to actually talk about some use cases. So what are some ways, what are some outcomes you can drive with LinkedIn conversation ads? And there are so many. So I'll talk about, I think I have 4 examples here. The first one, straightforward, what we all want, demo requests. This is actually how I first started using conversation ads. But this one is actually from one of our customers, Launch Darkly, set up very similar to the way I run my demo request ads. So as you can see, excuse me, there's an opening, and usually it's coming from a person that has some relation to the target. So I'm a marketer, you're a marketer, that kind of a thing. There's an offer, kind of some social proof, what we do, and then an offer for a gift card in exchange for a demo meeting. The person can say, yes, tell me more, no thanks. If they say yes, they get into a qualification stream here where I can further qualify them to make sure that, okay, this is actually going to be a good demo for you and for our sales team. And then if everything looks good, yes, fill out the lead gen form, and then the SDR team can get that and book the demo. What I love about this is that you can run this to a completely cold audience, because you're really taking them through the entire awareness, interest, consideration, all in a single ad. You're saying who I am, what I do, what problem I solve, social proof, who else like you uses us, and then an offer. And so we've had massive success running just straight up cold demo request ads like this to a cold audience and having a very successful take rate, and then also a very successful opportunity rate after that. Okay, so demo request. What else do we have here? What other kinds of offers can we run? Content download, very clear example here. This is our customer label box. What they have here is they have a document that they have a guide that they've built, and it's long form. And so they want to get people consuming it and maybe get some leads out of it. And so what they do is they actually have it come from their VP of engineering. So very smart. Hey, have it come from somebody that the recipients are likely going to have some relationship to, or be able to like see eye to eye with them. And in this one, they kind of tease who they are, what the content is about, and then somebody can immediately download the guide, or if they're not quite sure, tell me more. And then Ed, our advertiser here, but their VP of technology, can give them, or VP of engineering, can give them a little bit more information before they download. And then also you can see here, they've snuck in a little sign up for demo. So if somebody's just so compelled, like, wow, you built this amazing guide, I need a demo, they can actually bridge off and do that from here as well. And then finally, the thank you after they've downloaded the guide. So you can get really inexpensive content downloads using this tactic, but also also open up kind of a conversation or a relationship with people. And so this is another great use of conversation ads. Another way, and actually some of you may have actually converted to this event from a conversation ad, is using it to promote event registration. And so in here, again, very similar. Ideally, you're having it come from somebody that the recipient can see eye to eye to. And so it's like, hey, I'm a marketer, I'm going to go to this event. You might want to go to it too. Or I'm a marketer, we're putting on this event for people just like you and I. Can I interest you in going? Oh, by the way, it's free. And so in this one, we just go right to it. We announce some of the big name speakers that we have, and then we give a banner, which is nice. You can also put images in these ads. And then we ask them, are you ready to register? Yes. If not, hey, maybe what's the agenda? Now I get another opportunity to show them, get a little bit deeper and show them a little bit more information, and then see if they're ready to convert. One of the things I forgot to mention in the beginning, which I'll actually get to in a minute, is each of these messages each of these messages is contained to 500 characters only. So that's really why you need to be very crisp and very intentional with each message that you do, and how, like, what your copy is within each of those messages. Okay, the final one I'm going to go through is actually an awareness campaign that we ran here at Metadata a little bit over a year ago. This is one where this is a pure awareness play for me, and I was willing to pay somebody $20 if they went through the entire experience and then answered the questions correctly at the end of it. And so what I did here is said, hey, we're a new ABM B2B demand gen platform. I'd like to have you learn more about us. What's your biggest marketing pain point? And if you get through the whole thing and you answer the questions correctly, I'll send you $20. And so I set up the biggest marketing pain points to be things that our product has a solution for. And so as they're clicking through, if they start with building audiences, they go to the next screen, they get 500 characters around how we build audiences with metadata. Then the next 4 are available to them. Do I want to go to campaign experimentation, proving marketing ROI, et cetera? By the end of it, they've gone through all 5 of these, and then they're off to a survey, and they answer the survey, and then they get $20. So again, a way to create massive awareness. We had actually lots of opportunities come out of this, because once they really hear and learn about some of the differentiators, hopefully, if you've got the right audience and your product, you have a good product market fit, the light bulbs go off, and they're like, oh, wow, this is kind of interesting. And they might come back to your website to learn more and maybe convert to a demo after this. And again, using some fun humor, a little meme with our everybody's favorite Will Ferrell, Buddy the Elf, helps to, lighten up the situation a little bit. Okay. So those are, and of course, and there's like, I probably can't think of all the different offers and all the different outcomes you could drive with conversation ads, but there is a big list because, as you'll see later when we talk about analytics, you can get your cost per is fairly low. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we've learned over this 18 months and all these variations that we've done. The first one is the importance of targeting and testing your audiences. And so I would say this about any campaign type, honestly. I'm a huge believer that audience is your primary lever for driving, for increasing performance of any kind of campaign. I can have a really bad campaign targeted at the perfect audience and it'll perform better than an amazing campaign targeted at just the wrong audience. And so early focus is on who you're targeting with your conversation ads and the offer, and then testing through those with different audiences first before you change up the offer is something that we definitely recommend. Who the conversation ad comes from is critically important. We tested all different types of people, but I think having the person it's coming from be in a similar role or have similar responsibilities as the recipient is your number one optimization, I guess. Hack is the wrong word. Focus for this type of ad. We tried myself, Mark, our CEO Gil, a customer, a salesperson. Like, we tried all of them. Coming marketer to marketer, marketing leader to marketer seems to be the sweet spot for us. And so figure out who that person is and make sure and even test a couple different people as the sender as well. Okay, the first message, critically important. That's the first message. You get 500 characters to convert the person into either learning more or right there saying, yes, I'm ready. And so you have to be very clever with these 500 characters. You want to be able to get in, like my demo request one, I wanted to get in who I am, why you should listen to me, social proof, who else uses us, what the platform does, the offer of $100, and then are you interested? So I had to try and jam all that into 500 characters. It's not super easy. The other thing is there is this notion of a pre-header. So just like normal email, the recipient can read a little bit of the email before they actually click on the message. And so you just want to think about that. It's a different number of characters if they're seeing it in their mobile version versus they're seeing it on desktop. I don't know what those character counts are, but just take a look at that. For example, one of my offers or one of my ads, I made sure the $100 could be seen in that pre-header, and it did boost performance a little bit. Speaking of offers, the offer absolutely matters. So make sure that the offers are relevant and that you try different offers. We tried if you try $100, we started in the very beginning of the pandemic. People were quarantined at home. Nobody had what they needed cooking wise. Everyone was cooking at home. They didn't want to cook at home anymore. So we said, hey, $100 DoorDash. And that was great at first. And then it started to dwindle. Tried a different type of gift card. Oh, that actually boosted performance. We tried other things like a year-long subscription to DGMG, which we thought would like blow it out of the water with our audience. Didn't work as well. Charity donation, it didn't work as well. So we tried different things and we've optimized to what seems to work best. And right now we've run a couple of different offers that seem to be about the same. Qualification. Remember, you have the ability to further qualify these people. So you take advantage of that. And so get them excited in the first message. Then they say yes. Now further qualify them to make sure they're people that your salespeople want to talk to. These are usually going to be things that you can't target on, because if you can target on that thing, then you shouldn't really need to ask the question. But if you can't target on it, then you can ask the question. So for us, it's important for our best customers spend at least $10,000 a month in paid social. So that's a qualifier, but we can't target on that. I have no source of data that can tell me how much money you spend a month on paid social ads. The other thing is we want people to use Salesforce because we want to connect to Salesforce so we can see how the metadata campaigns are affecting revenue. So we ask, do you use Salesforce? If they don't, we'll probably still take the demo because you can still use metadata, but our ability to optimize to really what matters is limited. So, and then finally, really map out your flow and make sure it's closed loop everywhere. You're not leaving any hanging chads. Not leaving any hanging chads, for those who remember that. And you're also making sure you're giving yourself another opportunity if they say no. Now, you can't re-say the same offer because LinkedIn actually reads that and they'll disqualify or they'll reject your ad. But if they're like, you're gonna say, hey, would you like a demo? And they say, no, I don't think I'm ready. Don't say, hey, would you like a demo again? But say, okay, no problem. Maybe, hey, if take a look at this case study, click over here and learn more about metadata. So you can actually get them to take a secondary action that's not as important as your primary. But if they take that secondary action, at least you still get something from the ad and they're still learning more about you and getting further down the funnel. All right, so we talked about what we've learned. We talked about what you can do with them. Now, how do you analyze performance of a conversation ad? So this is kind of your standard LinkedIn view. You select sponsored messaging for the reporting type. So you're looking at those metrics. And this is what you'll get. So it really reads like email. If you look at it, we've got sends, the opens, clicks, etc. So it reads like email report. So it feels like I'm in HubSpot. But take a look at some of these are actual numbers from a recent campaign that I've run. Take a look at it. 64% open rate. I rarely get below 60%. And this is not an open rate that can be faked by spyware, by anti-spam systems and platforms that your company might have. And so that's a real open rate. And man, 65% of the people seeing it or getting it, open it, that's huge. And so already you know that if they're opening it, they're probably reading the very first message, at least part of it. So now they at least have awareness of your company. That's something that not even a display ad can do. People say they get, data says people are impressed with display ads, but did they really remember it? Probably not. And then when you can see, I can get this for just basically 72 cents per send, but $1.13 per open. So, compare that to some of the other channels, like some of your other awareness channels alone, and you'll realize wow, doing a conversation ad for a demo, I'm actually getting awareness benefit from it as well, cheaper than I'd be able to get other awareness benefits from other channels. And then with 1,500 button clicks, that's like 10% of the people who open it actually follow one of the paths. So they're going a little bit further, getting a little bit more information. Even if they say no, they're at least seeing my next message that actually talks about my competition. So now they know oh, you compete with these folks. So if I'm using one of them, maybe I should, kind of take a look at your platform as well. The cost per lead for us, $103 is very low for us for a low funnel hand raise or demo request. So if I'm offering a gift card, which I do, then I add $100 to the CPL, or I add our $100 times our take rate, which is about 70-75%. That's if everyone who ends up as a lead in here how many actually end up getting an actual meeting with us where we need to fulfill a gift card. Also, a note about gift cards. As a tactic, they can really work, but your conversion rate to opportunity and closed won over a non-paid or non-gift card demo is likely going to be 75% lower. And this is because it's psychology. I'm offering you $100 for your time, and you're willing to give your time for that $100. Now, we nuance the ad to make sure like, hey, you're really interested, you're a decision maker, you spend money on ads, blah, blah, blah. So you're still the right person, but you may not have a need, but you're still willing to give your time for that $100. That's totally fine, because I just got to give you a demo. Hopefully some light bulbs went off. And when you are ready, then you'll come back and we'll have a seat at the table, and we'll already be up on top of that seat because you've already had a demo of us. Whereas somebody giving their time freely for no money, they should have a need. Otherwise, why would they give up their time? Their time is precious. Time is our most valuable resource. So they're giving up their time in exchange for just knowledge, more knowledge about your product, because they think it's something that can help them meet their goals. So that's why it's very clear. But especially early on, paid or low awareness, paid demo requests using gift cards is a great tactic to use. So don't worry about it. And then finally, I'll say, don't forget that revenue is king here. So these reports are nowhere near enough. If this is all I use and I just spent money based on this, I should be fired, because I have these 210 leads. How many of them turned into opportunities? How many of them turned into closed won deals? At what average selling price? Does that meet my averages? All that stuff that's important. So make sure you've got all this tied into Salesforce, and you can really understand how these turn into opportunities, revenue, et cetera. Okay. Another quick word about analyzing performance. LinkedIn gives you this beautiful flow report or flow chart. When you're looking at a specific campaign and a specific creative, you can click flow chart and it'll take you to this screen, and you can see exactly how people are moving through your questions and how they're responding. They don't give percentages here, but you could pretty easily kind of put this into Excel and understand percentages. And you can use this to optimize your flow. So if you have a longer flow as well, and you see like, oh man, there's a big drop off at stage 3 or step 3. Hey, maybe I need to crack that open, look at my message. Is it clear? Is it not clear? And maybe I need to optimize it from there. And so this is super helpful as you're getting started, because even before some of these turn into leads, you can start to see like, do I have obstacles or blockers in this flow that are actually preventing people from converting? Okay, and finally, to close this all out and get you all started quickly, let's talk about how exactly to do that. One of my suggestions is to map it out on paper first, or maybe a flow charting tool, because the platform that LinkedIn gives you to do this in is not incredibly intuitive in terms of okay, where am I at in this message flow and what message is this? And so I like to map it out on paper first. The second thing, so map it out on paper with very draft copy. So I want this message to say this generally and get them to do this. You don't have to worry about the copy yet. You just want to map it out, make sure there's no, I'm going to say this again, hanging chads. There's everything's closed loop. You know where people are going. If they answer this way, what you're going to do next, you're going to send them off the ad to your website. If so, where? So you've got the blocking and tackling down. Now you need to go in and then really work the copy. So I mentioned this earlier. You get 500 characters. It is so important that you just really use as much of those characters as possible and just really, really nuance that copy until you get it right. I have help in that. I don't do well with this. I'm too verbose. I don't know how to chop my stuff down. So I've got Mark in there helping me every single time. Point number 2, follow-up. I don't mean follow up on the data. What is your follow-up process going to be as leads come in? And so one of the things that we didn't realize is when we started this, the volume of leads was so high compared to our what we were doing previously, we didn't actually know how to follow up on them or how to stay on top of it. And so really map that out. Okay, they answer yes, they fill out the lead gen form. For us, lead gen form automatically goes into HubSpot. HubSpot's looking for the lead gen form, creates a workflow automation off of that goes and notifies the salesperson, puts them into a campaign in Salesforce, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff, you need to make sure it's mapped out so that as the leads are coming in, you're not dropping any, you're giving them a good experience, et cetera. And then also make sure you're enabling sales. How are these leads coming in? Don't just throw them over the fence. Hey, these guys saw these 3 messages. They answered this way, so the sales rep really knows like, oh, okay, very clear. I know what they're doing. I know what we're trying to do, etc. And then finally, and I'll say this about anything, good is better than perfect. You can spend weeks coming up with like the perfect flow, the perfect words, and then realize it's not actually the perfect flow or the perfect words. So my suggestion with nearly everything is try and get to an MVP first, and then test using the MVP, and then refine from there. Don't hurt your brand, of course, like don't go crazy, but also you probably really can't hurt your brand. Just stick on brand, make sure that, you're not overthinking it. Get something out there good enough first, small audience to start. Don't like start with the very first thing and blow it to everybody. Start small, draft copy, work it from there, take a couple of weeks to really work it through. And then you'll kind of realize, okay, which messages resonate the most, which messages get the best conversion to the next message, etc. And then you can essentially optimize yourself into the perfect one instead of trying to build it before you launch it. Cool. So that's all the content that I have for conversation ads today. Again, I appreciate everybody listening in and participating in our event today. Hope everybody's having a great time. Take care.